everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to take you on this macro to micro journey today. We are going to explore the massive, intricate system that literally feeds and fuels our entire world. You know, when we look at a simple plate of food or, say, the cotton shirt on our backs, it is incredibly easy to just forget the monumental human and environmental machinery that actually produced it. So today, we're going to unpack the modern reality of agriculture and agro-based activities. And we'll see exactly how the earth beneath our feet connects directly to the massive factories that drive our global economy. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're hitting 5 key areas. First, the roots of agriculture. Then, categorizing our land. Third is subsistence versus commercial farming. Fourth, the rhythm of the seasons. And finally, number 5, fueling the modern economy. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the roots of agriculture. To really wrap our heads around this global engine, we need to zoom all the way in and look at the literal foundation, the earth itself. Now, you might already know this, but the very word agriculture actually ties the soil, which is ager in Latin, to cultivation. But for our modern context, it's super important to recognize that this isn't just some mechanical, robotic process of dropping seeds in the dirt. No, it is a highly intricate, foundational science of raising crops and rearing livestock. It's essentially the original interface between humanity and our planet. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where this magic happens. Notice the green shaded area spanning the globe here? That highlights the world's arable land, the specific terrain where crops can actually be grown. And as you can see, it definitely isn't everywhere. Agricultural activity is heavily concentrated in very specific regions where favorable topography and a suitable climate align perfectly to allow for growth. We're strictly bound by the geographic realities of the earth. So, what does that map translate to in terms of human effort? Well, the number is absolutely staggering. 50%. Literally half of the entire global population is engaged in this single primary activity. In countries like India, that number jumps even higher, with a wild 2/3 of the population dependent on agriculture. So next time you're thinking about the highly digital, AI-driven world we live in, just remember this number. Half of humanity wakes up every single day to work the soil. Moving right along to Section 2, categorizing our land. With so much of humanity relying on this one resource, let's shift gears and look at how we physically divide, manage, and measure it. To keep the global food engine running smoothly, land revenue departments meticulously categorize every single inch of the earth. The designations range from government-demarcated forests and barren wastelands all the way to permanent pastures meant for grazing. But I want you to focus on 2 specific categories here. Culturable wasteland, which is land left uncultivated for more than 5 years, and current fallow. Current fallow is this really fascinating and vital cultural practice where land is intentionally left without cultivation for a year or less. Why? Well, the land needs to rest. It actually has to recoup its fertility through natural processes. We can't just use the land endlessly. We have to let it breathe. So, how do we understand how efficiently we're using that actively farmed land? Experts rely on a pretty straightforward mathematical formula called cropping intensity. Basically, you take the gross cropped area, which includes areas sown more than once in an agricultural year, and you divide it by the net sown area, which is the sheer physical extent of the farmed land. Multiply that whole thing by 100, and boom, you get a clear percentage showing exactly how intensively a piece of land is being pushed over a single agricultural year to yield food. Which brings us to Section 3, subsistence versus commercial farming. Now that we've seen how land is measured, we've got to introduce the human element and look at the vastly different methods we use to actually extract resources from it. So the crucial point is that not all farming looks the same, right? It varies wildly based on intent. On one side, we've got intensive subsistence farming. This is super common in thickly populated monsoon regions. It involves cultivating a small plot using immense household labor and pretty simple tools, primarily just to feed the farmer's own family. Now, on the flip side, we have commercial farming. This is a whole different ballgame. It leverages massive tracts of land and heavy modern inputs. We're talking high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and it's done entirely to sell products to the market. What's kind of crazy is that a single crop's economic status changes depending on geography. Take rice, for example. It's a heavily commercialized crop in regions like Punjab, but over in places like Odisha, it remains a subsistence crop grown basically for family survival. And beyond your basic food grains, we also have highly specialized offshoots. Viticulture is the cultivation of grapes. Horticulture focuses on growing vegetables, flowers, and fruits for commercial use. And sericulture, that is the commercial rearing of silkworms on mulberry leaves to produce natural silk. These aren't just niche side hobbies, guys. They're highly specialized agro-based activities that provide absolutely crucial supplemental income for agricultural workers, not to mention vital raw materials for high-end industries. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, the rhythm of the seasons. Because no matter how advanced our tech gets, agriculture is still entirely a slave to the seasons. The agricultural calendar in places like India is rigid, weather-dependent, and broken into 3 distinct cropping seasons. Let's walk through them. First is the Kharif season. This is perfectly timed with the onset of the southwest monsoon from June to September, bringing heavy rains for tropical crops like rice, cotton, and jute. Then comes the Rabi season in the winter months from October to March, relying on western temperate cyclones to water temperate crops like wheat and mustard. Finally, there's a short little summer window called Zaid, which is just perfect for growing watermelons and vegetables on irrigated lands. Our entire global food supply is literally dictated by this rigid timeline. To highlight just how vulnerable and specific this natural rhythm really is, let's consider cotton for a second, a massive raw material for the textile industry. Cotton doesn't just need some dirt and a little water. No, it demands high temperatures, light rainfall, bright sunshine, and, get this, exactly 210 frost-free days to mature. A slight shift in climate, a single late frost, or an unexpected heavy rain, it can decimate an entire crop. It is a prime example of our absolute vulnerability to the environment. All right, zooming out now for Section 5, fueling the modern economy. We've seen the soil, the land management, and the seasons. Now let's explore the deep, inseparable integration between the farm and the industrial factory. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that when looking at the sectoral composition of a massive workforce like India's, you might expect manufacturing or tech to dominate, right? But nope. A staggering 58.2% of the workforce is still tied to the primary sector, meaning agriculture and related activities. The tertiary or service sector holds 37.6%. while the secondary, manufacturing sector holds just 4.2%. So despite all our rapid modernization, the vast majority of human effort is still rooted firmly in the earth. And listen, that primary sector isn't just a bunch of mechanized, AI-driven tractors harvesting fields. Agriculture relies intensely on human sweat and muscle, particularly in the intensive subsistence farming we talked about earlier. Practiced in thickly populated monsoon regions, the sheer volume of human labor required to plant, maintain, and harvest crops is just immense. It is the daily, grueling work of millions of people that actually sustains this foundational sector. But here is the thing. The farm doesn't exist in a bubble. It's locked in a vital, endless dance with the factory. Agriculture and industry are not mutually exclusive at all. They actually move hand in hand. Think about it. The farm literally feeds the industry by supplying foundational raw materials. Cotton and jute for textiles, rubber for tires, sugarcane for massive sugar mills. But in return, the industry feeds the farm. Agro-industries boost agricultural productivity by providing modern irrigation pumps, chemical fertilizers, plastic PVC pipes, and complex machinery. It is a continuous, symbiotic loop, and one simply cannot survive or modernize without the other. Which brings us to a final, critical thought for today. We have seen how deeply our global population, our daily food, and our massive industrial economies all rely on the soil. But what happens if this land is consistently pushed to higher and higher cropping intensities without managing its fertility? Well, we face the looming threats of land degradation, severe soil erosion, salinization, and waterlogging. If the land loses its productive capacity, that entire symbiotic loop we've discussed today just collapses. So the future of our modern economy isn't just being decided in some corporate boardroom. It is entirely dependent on how well we care for the dirt beneath our feet. I really hope this explainer has changed the way you look at the food on your plate and the clothes on your back. Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for watching. For daily APPSC Group 2 study material and updates, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.